Welcome to the Milk Bottle e-commerce show, brought to you by Milk Bottle Labs, one of the world's top-rated accredited Shopify e-commerce experts. Founder Keith Matthews interviews e-commerce professionals, app developers and entrepreneurs to share as much digital knowledge and e-commerce tips and tricks as possible. This podcast is kindly supported by our go-to e-commerce tools. Rewind.io, the leading backup solution for Shopify, BigCommerce, Trello and more. Let's just say it's the cheapest insurance policy you'll ever get for your Shopify store and all your valuable data. Simply go to rewind.io/milk bottle to get your first month for free. We just love Klaviyo, our preferred automated email solution we use in every store build. No wonder it's trusted by over 65,000 ambitious growing brands worldwide. Find out more on klaviyo.com/milk bottle. Looking for easy accounting for e-commerce? Cinder can relieve you from manual data entry and automatically generate an accurate P&L report, balance sheet and inventory management for your business needs. A few clicks and you'll get access to the key metrics to find the hidden streams of income for your business. Use a coupon code EasyBooks for up to 40% off. Check out the show notes for further details.
Today I am chatting to Michael Jimmy DeBril, the tech support lead at one of the longest running Shopify apps in the Shopify App Store, Sufio. Sufio simplifies invoicing and taxes through powerful automation coupled with beautifully designed invoices. It's a typical boring solution to a fundamental problem for e-commerce store owners. They usually experience it when they're selling wholesale or selling abroad, and especially for us in light of Brexit. Jimmy also has an offer, which we'll discuss at the end of the interview, and he is talking to me today from Slovakia. Jimmy, how are you?
Hey Keith, it's nice to hear you connect over internet. I'm doing well. I'm really excited to be here. To be honest, this is my first time, so I hope everyone will bear with me. But it's a true honor and privilege. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I have known your founder, Norn, for quite a long time, so it's an absolute privilege to have you guys on the podcast. Before we go anywhere, Slovakia, you're based.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Slovakia.
Interesting question. You know what? Slovakia is a small country in the heart of Europe. It's a country that not many people recognize when you introduce yourself that you come from Slovakia. They usually mix it up with Slovenia, which happens quite often, even in politics or, very important occasions.
Well, Jimmy, as an Irish person, the amount of times that Canadians or Americans will mix us up with the UK is actually phenomenal. So we've got something in common already, and we're only a minute in.
Nice. To sell Slovakia, I would say it's a beautiful country. It has Carpathian, so beautiful nature. It's a spread, from the west all the way to the east. So it connects the west world of Austria and Czech Republic, Germany, France, and all those countries with the east, that is Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, Hungary, Croatia, and all that part. So it's a melting pot of many cultures. Many people love to come here, to travel. They do not spend too much time here because it's not a well-known country, but it nicely connects people when they travel across Europe. So it's very nice to live here.
So we've had a few speakers on. We had Matteo Grassi recently he's ex-Shopify, and he's just set up his own e-commerce platform. And he was explaining to me when he lived in Australia, he missed Europe. He's originally from Italy because of traveling. And we had discussed the fact that, with Ryanair, you can fly anywhere. But in Slovakia, you can actually drive anywhere, can't you?
Yes.
So you could just hop in the car and go skiing in a different country for the weekend.
Yes, that's very true. Actually, that's so funny that you mentioned that because my fiance is from Australia. She's originally from Melbourne.
Oh, and so very good.
For her to go anywhere, it's always overseas. They want to do something. They have to leave the continent and go like 24 hours plus.
Yeah.
And for me, that's insane. Like, I just can't imagine how difficult that is.
We discussed it. The podcast episode went live yesterday, and we discussed that very point, that in Europe you can be, you're in an even better position because you're in Central Europe, but as a kind of a Westerner, we have to hop in a plane, but it's still only an hour. I mean, the plane just goes up and lands at, 45 minutes, you're in the UK, and then an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, you can be in pretty much any different culture that you want to be. But of course, you have the added advantage that you can drive. I actually think that the majority of Europeans don't probably appreciate that until it's pointed out to them.
Yes, that's very true.
So, in terms of your own experience, how did you end up working for one of the longest established Shopify app developers?
That's a very interesting question and a very good to start with, because I think my journey was very diverse, I would say. From the very start, I was always that person that wanted to do something, wanted to create something, wanted to fix something. And so, although I studied languages when I went to school, I just shifted from that to design and photography. And then I was focusing more on, helping others sort of like express their voice through visuals. And I ended up working for one e-commerce or an online store that was selling sports equipment. And so they started very small. It was like I call it a living room online store where husband and wife were selling some goods. And then I helped them to define the branding, the style guide, the way they would present themselves. And then, from the very start all the way to the very finish, with some photography and things like that. So that helped me to sort of like have a nice glimpse into the e-commerce world and how platforms work, what my job is when I want to help someone. And then after like 4 and 5 years, I sort of like shifted from that because our relationship started to be somewhat too friendly, and it wasn't a business relationship anymore.
Yeah, it was family.
Yeah, so you know how it is with family. It's like, yeah, he'll do it. It's okay, just do it for me. And it was a little bit overwhelming, so I wanted to keep that. And so I decided to leave that company, and I was looking for a new job. And here I am at Sufio.
So were you aware of Shopify prior to Sufio?
I was aware of that because I wanted to open my own online store many times. I had many ideas, but I somehow didn't find that courage to do it. And it was usually a very niche product or very niche area. And I'm not a hustler. Sometimes you have people who are super good at storytelling and marketing, and they have a very simple product, but for some reason they're able to sell it and do miracles with it. And so I was a little bit scared that I'll fail, so I just sort of like kept away from that. But I did know Shopify. I knew WordPress and WooCommerce because I was helping people to do their business through websites. So WordPress was like a go-to choice, but I didn't really experience it too much. It was quite new when I joined Sufio. And to be honest, even Sufio, it was very new. Although it's based in Slovakia, I had no idea that such an amazing app actually works from here.
That's the story that we're hearing from a lot of people. There's a lot of wonderful, wonderful establishments that are earning and employing people locally in their country on the Shopify ecosystem, and they don't shout about it. So that's something that we've heard before. I'll just take you up on a point there you mentioned about maybe that you didn't have the word you used. It was courage to go and launch your online store. It's kind of funny listening to you because the skill set that you've just described is the skill set that most online entrepreneurs don't have. You see, the design, an eye for design, an eye for, a talent to create effectively a brand through photography, and through design skills is probably one of the biggest gaps that I would see personally with customers that we have. They just expect to get the best thing without any real thought process. So it's funny to hear someone like you who's, studied and is experienced on the really difficult thing suggest that, you don't have a skill set. I can tell you straight away that you do. Nice. But I get the bit that you talk about the being a hustler. I think there's a perception out there that you need to be like that, but maybe it's not the case. But look, we'll have a beer sometime and we'll discuss that. I started out by saying that I knew exactly what Sufio was and what it does, but obviously a lot of our listeners won't. So let's just go back to the start. How did it start?
So I think the story of Sufio is very interesting to listen because it's very unique. And the reason being because it started as I call it a homework project of our CEO and founder, Noro, because he wanted to sell beer online. Spoiler alert, he loves beer still. And he lived in the Middle East at that time and worked with Shopify. So naturally, the e-commerce platform of choice was Shopify. However, due to the legislation in Slovakia and the country that he's also from and where he wanted to sell that beer, he needed to tackle the accounting area, the one that everyone loves so much when starting a new business. And he needed a solution that would provide him with compliant invoices. But because in those years, it was around 2012, I think, Shopify did not have like a reliable or like a satisfying, let's say, solution for invoices at that time. So him being a developer, he decided to come up with a simple solution and code it for himself. And as the time went by, he realized that selling beer is perhaps not as easy as he wanted it or maybe anticipated it to be. And so he eventually stopped from selling beer and he started focusing mainly on the app. And he was focusing on it together with his cousin, Iggy, which brought both of them together. And I think it's very interesting because they both had their businesses fully functioning at the time, and they sort of like left that and went to focus on Sufio. So it was both an adventure and risk at the same time. But because they had businesses, they understood that invoicing can be a total nightmare, and it can be a little bit complicated for someone who loves to do that business that he's focused on. In this case, it was selling beer. And so I think that helped them to define the goal and the value of the app from the very start, from the very beginning, trying to make something that will help people to do and to enjoy what they enjoy and love doing. Because we have this nice formula that I love to use, because I love invoicing, said no one ever. Right? Like you've never heard someone saying, "Oh, I was doing invoices today for the whole day, and I think it was the best thing ever." So people love to do their business. People love to sell stuff. People love to create, craft, place it on their online store, take photos of it. But that invoicing area, that accounting part of it, is most of the time a little bit cumbersome and troublesome. So that's what they tried to do, and here we are.
Well, Jimmy, I must be one of the only people that actually do enjoy it, because when I create an invoice, that means we have sold some service. And that means that at some point, the number on the bottom of the invoice is going to land into a bank account. So I actually quite enjoy invoicing. One of the biggest mistakes that small business owners make as well is not invoicing, Yeah. I know some people in 2022 that still decide that, they do their invoicing one Friday in every month.
Yep.
Yeah, like it's just absolutely bonkers. But we could have a podcast on that entire subject alone. We're located in Ireland and we work with businesses in the UK. We work with businesses in the US, and tax and invoicing and selling to the trade. And obviously Brexit came up as well recently, which is, I got a delivery yesterday from the UK and I had to pay, unfortunately, a duty online before DPD would drop the product in our office. And it is complicated. And I can fully understand why people would avoid even exporting to a country if there was in any way some sort of complexity with customs duties or indeed with Brexit. So your app solves one kind of major solution, which is invoicing. But can you break it down? Because invoicing is a very big word, and explain to the users that may not be aware of Sufio in the Shopify ecosystem. It's also available in BigCommerce, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. We do integrate with both BigCommerce and Shopify. Yeah.
So Jimmy, for our listeners who are obviously very familiar with invoicing, but not necessarily familiar with Sufio, invoicing is a broad term. So can you break it down and explain to the listeners exactly what Sufio does?
So this is a very good question and get it asked so many times when I, for example, have calls with our power users and Shopify Plus stores to help them understand where would Sufio actually fit in their whole sort of invoicing process. And the easiest way of putting this is that Sufio creates and sends invoices automatically for orders in your online store. But as you mentioned, invoicing being such a broad and, difficult, I guess, topic as well. And with all the responsibilities that come with it, Sufio definitely does more than that. And I think we could touch the three main pillars of Sufio, and that is the automation, compliance, and branding. The automation, as I mentioned, is at the very start, no one ever said, I love invoicing. The automation, I guess, in terms of invoicing is very important because it defines that an invoice is created automatically when an order has been placed in your online store or your Shopify store in this case. And making this whole process of having invoices created and eventually sent to the customer automatically, I think saves a lot of time and saves you a lot of nerves as well, because you don't have to think about it and you don't have to focus on the invoicing part. You can just focus on making sure that your online store just is running and has, products in stock and you talk to your customers and things like that. But then with Sufio, the automation is quite nicely modular, I would say, because you are able to also define when an invoice has to be created, which order does need an invoice, that's given by the customer or the user. And so, does it have to be sent to the fulfillment center as well? Does it have to be sent to the accounting software or the accountant? Does it have to include a specific note or sentence, some, specific return policy for the customer from a specific country? So there are so many variables that we can use to be able to customize the whole layout of the invoice and make it automated. So in the end, you don't have to, again, think about, but did we actually mention that customers from France cannot return things, within 28 days, but only 10 days? You don't have to think about it. We just set it up for you, and then you just run your business and you just leave Sufio take care of all of that.
So you focus on running your business while the invoicing is completely automated?
Yes.
Hold that thought, Jimmy. We'll just listen to our sponsors. Rewind.io is the leading backup solution for your Shopify store. Did you know that there's no way of recovering lost data? If your store is gaining traction, app developers or multiple staff may enter your store, and there's absolutely no way of fixing human error. Rewind.io allows you to rewind your store back to its original state, so you can reduce your business risk immediately with the Rewind app. It's so easy and is the cheapest and best insurance policy you'll ever need for your Shopify store. Get your first month for free by simply replying to your first email from Rewind and mention this podcast. Now, regular listeners will know I love Klaviyo. It's the single biggest revenue generator I've ever seen across hundreds and hundreds of Shopify stores I've been in. Klaviyo's data-driven marketing automation platform is sophisticated enough to power those legendary campaigns from the big brands you admire, but they make it simple, they make it easy, and they make it fast. To get started with a free trial of Klaviyo, visit klaviyo.com/milkbottle. That's klaviyo.com/milkbottle. Jamie, can you just give us some more detail on, you mentioned there that there's line items that you can have in an invoice, for example, that might be, your return policy might be different for Spain versus France. But also, in addition to that, I've seen some beautifully branded invoices come out of Sufio. So in terms of the ability for store owners to match, for example, their own style guide and their own look and feel, how is that done in Sufio?
Yeah, this is nice that you brought it up, because I think branding and invoicing in many cases, or for many people, does not really correlate together. Like, no one ever viewed an invoice as a nice branding document, like a document that would represent my company. It's usually all the documents that the accounting department is taking care of, and it's like an Excel sheet or something of that sort. But we're trying to help our users or help merchants on Shopify to make sure that the whole experience, from placing the order, browsing your store, how much work you've put into making sure that all the products look nice, all the colors match, your logo, photography, all that stuff, and how nice it would be to have all this taken through the whole process of placing the order, seeing the order confirmation email, and then opening the box, or opening your email and seeing that nice invoice that just doesn't make you feel like, oh, is this still the company that I ordered the stuff from, or is it a different one, or who is this? So with Sufio, you're able to define from basics like colors, logos, the order of stuff, where things are placed, to more complicated and more advanced things like custom typography, specific changes in the design for businesses that run Shopify Plus stores who really need to have everything matching, and they put a lot of stress on their brand voice. So with Sufio, we're able to do this because we can edit the whole source code of the template per account, and they're also able to have a look at that and to tell us specifically what they need to be changed. So we make sure that the whole purchase, the whole process for the end customer is a breeze and feels very nice.
So the ultimate end result is a very clear, attractive invoice with all the detail that is required for the client to get paid. And at the end of the day, it more than likely will accelerate payments because there will be no questions by the client that owes you that invoice. Is that a logical conclusion?
I would say it's the best conclusion. And it's also proved that the research has done that invoices that look good, faster paid by the customers, and businesses are able to make more money thanks to that.
And of course, legacy systems, legacy accounting systems don't have the flexibility. I mean, you just mentioned there that you can go in and edit the source code. I mean, it's pretty unique to be able to do that. So in terms of then the support that you provide to be able to do that, so the first thing that I think of when you said that was, do I have to be an enterprise customer for you guys to help me with that? Like what sort of level of support do you provide? Because it's one thing getting a customer to go down the road of using the application, but then giving them the tools to completely add their brand. Is that asking too much of people? Like what level of support do you provide? Because I know you're going to say, yes, we do, because you have to be able to. There's no point in having a brandable invoice if you guys can't help people actually brand it.
Yeah, that's true. But I think what makes us stand out from all the other invoicing apps, from the time we started, there are so many more in the online store, is that support that we provide to our users. And the reason for that is that we actually care about their needs. I really like one quote that says, people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. And it's so true about even such thing as an invoicing app. I mentioned before that you have, merchants and people who do business, and they really love to sell their stuff, but they do not have any idea of the invoicing aspect of it. And they're freaking out. They're scared. Like, oh my goodness, what am I supposed to do? How can I do this? So not just being able to make their invoices look nice and make sure that the font size, the colors, the layout, everything fits. But also what I'm looking at is compliant with the legislation in my country. So having an experienced support team that is looking into this and is more proactive and cares more about the person behind, not the reason why is he messaging me and what do you want from me? More like, this is an awesome product. I love that Sufio can be part of the development of this huge project of yours. How can we help you to make sure that everything is working seamlessly with your ideas and your needs?
So Jimmy, is it correct then if I ask this question? Do you guys then automatically update your app when VAT changes, for example, occur in a country? Is that the kind of service that you guys are talking about? So you're preempting and you're fixing a problem before it occurs? Because obviously VAT charges are one of the most important things in an invoice. And if the VAT charge is wrong, well, then your VAT report is going to be wrong. And I think you might have alluded to it a second ago, because people are afraid that they don't want the returns to their local government inaccurate. So is that the kind of thing you're talking about, that you guys will make automatic updates? Can you just give us some more detail on that kind of thing, that you're making changes ahead of before the problem occurs?
Yeah, so not only that, that we make sure that the app itself is working with the legislation and is up to date. There's many things we are working with Shopify, so many things are already handled by the platform itself. And I really think that Shopify is doing their best to make sure that their system is working together with the legislation in different countries, and especially the EU as it is, because it's a huge economic area that works together, but every single country has its sometimes very clumsy local legislation. So Shopify is doing a great job at that. But what we try to do on top of that is help them navigate through that, because sometimes you have a look at the website, you read through it, but you have no idea how that relates to you, because it's all hard vocabulary, foreign words, and you don't know what to do with it. So we provide as well, articles, onboarding sessions on Zoom, tax guides. We also try to record YouTube videos to explain things, because it said that one picture is worth 1,000 words. So that's also part of our support to making sure that people understand what they need, and people understand and can rely on us that we do understand what they need.
So your support team, would it be an overreach to say that effectively you're tax experts in one way? Because I'm assuming a lot of the questions that your support team are going to be getting are around taxes.
It's true. And we do not like to call ourselves tax experts, because we also do not like taxes. In fairness, you're a Shopify service. You're not a tax specialist, but you know what I mean? Yeah, I do. Because I would say that a huge percentage of queries that we receive are tax related, and understandably, because it's difficult to navigate through that. And there were lots of changes, Brexit and all that jazz. So we do not call ourselves tax experts, but we want to be experts in what we say and what we provide.
I get you.
So we work with different accounting firms and companies. We have some consultants around the world that help us to navigate through that and tell us prior to that legislation taking place. So we know when someone is messaging us or is emailing us, it is not him who is explaining things to us and us trying to find where that actually fits within Sufio, but us being the ones knowing exactly what's going on and what needs to be done to make sure that everything is okay.
Yeah. So it's very clear that you're an authority on the area, but there's so many different pieces of legislation for each country. Of course, you need assistance there, and that's natural. And I think it's a good thing that you have those kind of outside influences to assist. In terms of the users that are using Sufio, the Shopify ecosystem, app developers can measure an app by sometimes the price plan that the customer is on. Could be, some people have a habit of charging people more, for example, if the customer's on Shopify Plus. Some people could measure the app value based on the number of orders. So in terms of the scale of customers and the volume of throughput of orders for a customer, does Sufio suit a busy customer, or does Sufio suit the mom and pop store? Is there an ideal customer for Sufio, or are you guys everything to everybody?
We try to be everything to everybody. We actually went through some infrastructure changes lately, migrated to GCP to make sure that we're able to scale for both, small businesses, although they are small, they're still significant to us, but also big companies and enterprises that really need to have a reliable, functioning platform or solution for their invoices that would keep up with all their orders, keep up with all the demand from their customers. So we do not tend to classify or put into boxes our users and say, okay, this is a small one on Shopify Basic, and he's not paying enough for us to email soon enough or early enough. We do not like to do that because we try to see people behind those emails. And so I wouldn't go into, specific numbers and say, oh, we can do these and we can do that, and our future is so bright, you need sunglasses. But we try to be humans.
I've never heard that before. Say that the future is so bright. I was just about to ask you about the future of Sufio. The future is so bright, you might need sunglasses. Can I take that one?
Yeah, definitely.
That's brilliant.
It actually comes from one of my workmates. Because we had a meeting the other Monday, and we never clap at the end of the meeting. But I just started clapping just to make it like fun of it.
Yeah.
And she liked it. She felt like it's so corporate, and she used to work in the corporate. So she was like, she just said this, and I just felt like it's amazing.
Oh, that's gas. The future is so bright, you might need sunglasses. I won't say it again because I'll annoy the listeners. But the next question was going to be the future. I mean, what is the future? I'm assuming that taxes and tax collecting and that side of businesses will become complex. I mean, in Ireland, they have changed VAT rates for specific industries and verticals a number of times over the past few years. But just before we go, what is the future for Sufio?
So as you mentioned, saying what the future of taxes is, it's very hard. You have no idea. Everyone is changing constantly. But the future for Sufio, I would say, is more invoices for sure, and being able to provide with a reliable service to everyone who needs invoices. So there are many things we'd like to do better. And I think being part of the Sufio family, there are so many nice ideas. Everyone, being a family, we all have some specific ideas and things that we would like to put into Sufio and make it better from work-related and company-related, how we do things, to the app itself and how invoicing could be better for our users. But I think one of our main goals in terms of the app itself is to integrate with more e-commerce platforms. At the moment, you mentioned that we do work with Shopify and BigCommerce, BigCommerce being the younger sister, I would call her.
Yeah.
But we would like to integrate with all major e-commerce platforms and, of course, help more people enjoy invoicing.
Yeah, that's a good answer. You should check out Rewind. The Mike Potter runs Rewind, which started out as a 2-man show many years ago. It's a backup app for Shopify, and now they're backing up Trello. I think they're backing up Microsoft 365 as well. And Mike is a friend of Milk Bottle Labs, and he actually supports the podcast. He's one of
Wow.
he's our first ever sponsor, actually. But it's just quite interesting, the trajectory that a simple app has made outside of the Shopify ecosystem. And I could imagine that there's a massive future for you guys. I don't know whether you'll all be wearing sunglasses in the office or not, but I would say that the future is bright. Well, Jimmy, look, it's been an absolute pleasure. I have to say, I really enjoyed this. And if you ever need anything over this side of the water, or you're ever in Dublin, just look me up, because you work for a wonderful, wonderful guy who runs a great app. And today was a refreshing conversation, I think. I think the listeners will agree.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening. All of our episodes are available on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. A special note of appreciation goes to our sponsors, Rewind.io, the leading backup solution for Shopify and BigCommerce store owners. Get your first month free by responding to your welcome email once you sign up for your free trial on Rewind.io. Cinder is worth considering for your e-commerce accounting and reporting needs. Use a coupon code EasyBooks for up to 40% off. Clavio, which helps e-commerce brands easily create personalized, multi-channel marketing campaigns using your most powerful asset, your customer data. To get started with a free trial of Clavio, visit clavio.com/milkbottle. That's KLAVIYO.com/milkbottle. If you're a Shopify user with an exciting story to tell, reach out to the team on podcast@milkbottlelabs.com. Until next time, take care.